Hello, everybody. Welcome to my channel, Ronald the Peculiar One. Here's some more news reporting from clips on the internet. This is my take, my opinion. You can take it, you can leave it. This is from Harvard Law today. We're talking about data centers. How the rich, very rich, obviously, they're in with the utility companies and they're charging you. So every time the utilities go up, your electric bill goes up, is because you're fitting the bill for these data centers and other things that these corporate people, I'll just say, are doing to us. We're fitting their bill, as that saying goes. The rich get richer as the poor get poorer. Or and many of Americans now and soon will be homeless because of it. Not just rising food prices. This is kind of a long take. So I'm going to read it, and you can fast forward, pause it, rewind. Do what you need to do if you want to read any of this. And this is from Harvard Law today. And I didn't read this full report. I'm just going to read it and give you my take as I go. Remember, this is my take, my view, my opinion. If you want more facts or verify the facts, you can do your own research for it. I'm just opening your mind, and this is kind of like an educational thing as well. I'm no news reporter, just to tell you that now. I didn't go out there and get this information. I just looked it up. Let's get going. And this is the data. It says faculty scholarship. Okay. An area view. An Amazon Web Services data center is shown situated near single-family homes in Northern Virginia. Tech giants such as Google, Meta, Microsoft, Amazon are predicted to spend $364 billion this year, which is most of that's out of your pocket. They're charging us our utilities. How do you say it? We're fitting the bill. They hardly pay anything. We pay over 60% of everything they build, everything that they charge in the electric grid, because they're in with the utility companies, because they're all in, as that saying goes, that old saying, they're all in bed together. So that you know. And there you go. 364 billion this year. I had to pause it for a second. Got interrupted with the kitty cat. Accelerate the construction of new data centers across the U.S. Credit Nathan Howard Getty Images. You can just read. Some of that stuff I'm going to skip, but I give them credit for a picture or whatever. But how data centers may lead to higher electricity bills. The public is paying for the energy infrastructure used to power big tech, argues Harvard Law expert. September 3rd, 2025. So this is about, a month ago, give or take. What does your favorite chatbot have to do with your higher energy bill? Perhaps more than you think, says that person, director of electricity law initiative at the Harvard Law School, and so on. It's no secret that the artificial intelligence business is booming. Last year, U.S. investors poured $109 billion into promising startups and existing companies. Remember Enron? What was that in California? The electric company hogwash that they sold their stocks and said first they made it seem like that the company was going to advance, and then they sold their stocks and got out of it as people were investing all that money into it. And it turns out that it was a big lie. They was just lies on top of lies. Remember the corporate? It's corporate America. American citizens are just workers. And stuff like this proves it. I've been saying in my several videos since I started these little news content clips of my own opinion, my own take, and it's getting bad. How I'm finding all this stuff, and it's legit. It's not made up. They're taking advantage of us. We're oppressed because the rich keep taking from us. That saying, rich keeps taking? Well, it's a fact. The government does not care about us. It's a lie. It's a business for them. It's just a business. All right, let's keep going. This is just kind of a long paper here. So, ChatGPT alone boasts more than 190 million daily users, and 3/4 of organizations, 75% basically, recently reported using AI in some fashion, including for research, content creation, customer service, logistics, like suppliers and stuff like that, and more. But AI is particularly energy hungry, requiring enormous amounts of computing power compared to previous technologies. One study from MIT has estimated that 4.4% of all electricity in the U.S. was consumed by data centers in 2023. To keep up with demand, tech giants such as Google, Meta, Microsoft, Amazon are predicted to spend $364 billion this year to accelerate the construction of new data centers across the U.S., with facilities concentrated in places like Northern Virginia, Phoenix, Arizona. Phoenix is in Arizona, so why did they put a comma there? Must be a typo. And emerging hotspots in Ohio and Nebraska. But these data centers are everywhere. There's even one where I live. It's usually in big populated areas. It's like cities, big cities, small cities is where a lot of them are. State and local, and probably even in small towns right outside by themselves, they buy up farmland and so on. State and local officials often celebrate these new computing warehouses. Celebrate, keyword there. Computing warehouses, which promise to bring job opportunities, tax revenue, and other economic benefits. But they sometimes come with a price, rising utility rates for their neighbors, including businesses and individual consumers. Right there. Individual consumers. That's you, that's me, that's everybody who lives in an apartment, a trailer, or a house, or wherever you live in. RVs have to hook in to the grid as well. We're all in this. They're all taking it from us. Part of the problem is the data centers' appetite for electricity, he says. Facilities under development right now will use more energy than large cities. You hear that? Large cities. That's why they put it in a large city to kind of blend it in. So when they raise your utility bill, and they do this all the time, we're paying for it. And these rich people, as it says, that they named, Amazon, well, they're probably naming it again here, all this stuff. But yeah. Yeah. Google, Meta, Microsoft, Amazon. You're fitting their bill. We're all paying them. Paying their electric bill. And paying for their building. More demand for energy with no corresponding increase in supply means higher prices for everyone that's not part of their club. Pico argues in a paper with Harvard Law legal fellow Eliza Martin and other consumers often foot the bill for the complication infrastructures needed to hook these facilities up to the existing system, he adds. In an interview with Harvard Law today, Pesco explains the ways in which data centers sometimes obscure their effect on utility prices and why state regulators may need to radically rethink their approach to rate setting if they want to avoid higher energy costs for residents. And let me tell you something. You can fight this all you want. You can get some kind of relief from this, some kind of cuts where they do a bill where they take 5% of that off or 1% of off of fitting their bill. But we're still fitting their bill. It doesn't matter. Harvard Law today, let's start with the basics. How does the provisions of electricity work in the U.S.? Are utilities public, private, or some combination of both? And who sets the electricity rates? Ari Pesco, about 3/4, meaning 75% of Americans get their electricity delivered by a for-profit company whose stock is publicly traded, and the other quarter either receive their electricity from a municipally owned utility or in many rural parts of the country. I might have mispronounced that word there. They're cooperatively owned utilities. Cooperatively owned utilities. State regulators, a body appointed or elected officials, bought off rich people. They all know each other. They're in the club. Set prices only for the investor-owned utilities. The reason that we need government set prices is because these companies have monopolized in most sectors of the economy. Competition, disciplines, price, and performance. But when you have a monopoly, that's just not the case. And because electricity is an essential service, we need some government oversight to make sure that the utility is both providing reliable service and charging consumers a fair and affordable price. Now, I want to talk about government oversight. What does that sound like to you? Oh, they talk about above top secret facilities, things that they're doing illegally, from human trafficking, UFOs, stuff that they shouldn't have, that they're doing awful experiments with. And none of us as the, what do we say, consumer or American citizen, human beings, however you want to call it, citizens, are non-wise to it all. They think we're stupid. They think we're idiots. That we don't know what they're doing. And in many cases we do not, and you probably do not want to know that, because we would be sick to our stomachs. How exactly are rate prices determined in regions served by for-profit electricity companies. PESCO. A rate case at a public utility commission has two steps. The first step sets the total amount of money that the utility is going to collect from all of its ratepayers. That's everybody. You, me, everyone. Utility rates are designed to reimburse the utility for its costs of providing service and provide a government set profit margin on its capital investments. So in other words, these companies are kind of floating around making bids. Whoever provides the reasonable bid, that region gets that amount of electricity provided to that area. And then they reset it. And then they make another bid again. And make another bid again. And so it's not, the utility companies ain't doing it for us, for anybody. They're doing it for themselves. They're providing this so-called service. Okay, let's just keep going. Step 2 is figuring out how we're going to recover that amount from various types of consumers, such as residential. Let's say that again. Residential. That's all of us. Commercial, industrial. And the guiding principle here is cost causation. Causation. In general, consumers, some of these words I never even read before, and I've been in this world for quite a while. Consumers are divided into different groups based on the differing costs and the utility incurs to serve them. With a big factory, for example, the utility might have very different types of infrastructure and needs to provide electricity, and then to a single family house. Their energy consumption patterns are different as well. The factory may be using a lot of energy 24 hours a day. Whereas at a household level, we're using different amounts of the time. Various interest groups, in other words, the money talks and bull beep walks. That's basically what this is. We should be getting our fees should be maybe $5 as an example compared to what they use. And they could care less about us. That's why the rich stay rich and poor get poorer. Various interest groups will try to provide the regulator with evidence for why the utility has a lower cost to serve them. Excuses, loopholes. They know the rich people that own those companies, so what they're going to do is, I'll just raise the rates in the area to cover your costs. But you better get me out to that yacht of yours, buddy. I need a vacation with you. Let's hang out together. Let's go party. So they make these deals behind closed doors. Well, to ruin our lives. They want to keep us working until the day we die. And that's how it works. And therefore, they should pay a lower rate. Yep, it's all fixed, folks. It's all fixed. They could care less about the human being. All they care about is who's in the in and who's in the out. There's one more piece of all of this, which is that there are also different types of fees the utility assesses too. For instance, for residential rate payers, you typically have on your bill a fixed fee, a certain dollar amount per month that you pay regarding of how much energy you consume. And it should get rid of the how much energy you consume. And then you also have a volumetric rate. That is, for each unit of energy you consume, there's a specific charge associated with that, and that may also vary by time of day for some utilities. So there may be certain parts of the day where energy is less expensive than other parts of the day. Now, many people did experiments on that. It's a lie. What that is right there. That's a big fat lie. Because people have done that and they didn't see any improvements. What? 1 penny? 5 cents? It made no difference. You didn't really see a difference either way. So this is a bunch of hogwash right here, just so you know. Why couldn't data centers be classified under the existing framework? Pesco, they might. That's a decision that the state regulators will have to make. In other words, they get bought off and to decide whether to investigate it, pass a little slap on the wrist, but we're still fitting the bill, people. Whether to create a separate rate class for data centers, the justification for doing so would be because the utility incurs a different set of costs to serve these data centers as compared to other existing classes of rate payers. Now, different classes means you're not treated equally, and that's proof right there. They don't care about us. By putting us in different classes, tells you everything you need to know. That they treat us like we're cattle. They treat us like we're just a product that sits on a shelf. Is it more expensive for the utility to deliver energy to these data centers as compared to other existing consumers? Why might it be more expensive to deliver energy to data centers? What makes them different from a factory, for example? Pesco, it's the size of these facilities. Facilities under development right now will use more energy than large cities. Their consumption will be so large that even a nuclear reactor would be insufficient to power one of these facilities. There are a handful of industrial facilities that are that large. Many of them came online generations ago, such as oil refineries or aluminum smelters, but there's not a high growth rate for those types of industrial facilities today in the United States. Whereas the growth rate for the data centers is astronomical in many parts of the country. Ultimately, owing to both the size of the individual facility and the fact that some regions are projecting multiple data centers coming online soon. Some utilities are predicting that they will double the amount of energy they deliver over the next few years. Facilities under development right now will use more energy than large cities. But how can that affect consumers? The public. The people that aren't with the rich people, basically. Why would I pay more for electricity just because a data center in my neighborhood uses more energy? Pesco, there are two ways that data centers can raise rates for everyone. First, the utility is build a new infrastructure to provide energy to data centers and spreads those costs to all rate payers. That's all of us, so that they don't have to pay it. Because they're all in it together. It's nothing but a corporate America. Second, certain energy prices that the utility pays are set through markets. And when demand goes up and supply doesn't go up fast enough to meet it, prices go up. I'll explain how each one works. When a utility builds infrastructure like poles and wires or power plants, it socialized that cost across all users. That's been the business model for a century, and it's generally seen as a fair way to do things. For example, if there's a tree that falls down and hits that power line in your neighborhood and the power goes out, the utility sends a truck and worker to fix it, but it doesn't bill you for the repair. Instead, it includes the repair costs in the rates that are paid by everyone. Similarly, If there's residential growth across the utility monopoly service territory, monopoly, fake money, and the utility therefore must build hundreds of millions of dollars of new infrastructure for the new business is and residents. That cost it spread to everyone. The utility is going to have to build a lot of new infrastructure to be able to generate power and deliver that power. Everyone is going to bear some of that cost because data centers consume so much power. Utilities are building billions of dollars of new power lines and power plants to supply these individual scale facilities. The utilities' traditional approach of spreading infrastructure costs across all ratepayers forces us to pay for costs that the utility incurs only because of the computing facilities. So, like I said, the electric company is not just plain an electric company. If you ask me, they're secret contractors, government contractors that live probably a civilian lifestyle, or, in my opinion here, it's not about, oh, well, the electric company, well, we got to pay the electric company our electric bill every month. It's not that simple. It's basically stating that these are entities, I'm going to say evil entities that basically come in. They're like government contractors, civilian contractors, like the government will hire civilian contractors to build secret bases and secret stuff. Well, who's making the uranium? Who's making all of this stuff to power these power plants? The government is. Who controls nuclear weapons? Who makes the material for nuclear weapons? Who mines for nuclear materials? The government does. So these evil entity groups that control the government, that work behind the scenes, building stuff, doing this and doing that, guess what? It has nothing to do with the White House. It doesn't have nothing to do with the Pentagon. They do nothing. It's smoke and mirrors, people. They're just there to, just basic civilians. They get hired or join the military, so on and so on. They're just people, regular people that get ranked in the military to work at these places. But they have nothing to do what goes on behind the scenes. In other words, the owners of every country has nothing to do with the government, except they made the government. They set up these companies. The government is a company. All of the service in the military, all those infrastructures, different sections of the government, is just a business. It's a side hustle for the owners of all the countries in the world. But we all know who really owns the world, don't we? God. The other way is, as I said, in many parts of the country, utilities purchase electricity through markets. And those prices are going up because demand is going up in the market. And it takes a while to build new power plants by these builders that hire other builders to do the work for them. New industrial computing facilities are causing demand to rise faster than supply. The utility pays more for energy, and accordingly, all consumers pay more. If part of the problem is demand for electricity exceeding supply, why don't utilities just work on increasing supply? The industry is working to bring more supply online. For a number of reasons, building and connecting new power plants to the system takes too long. The reasons range from supply chain bottlenecks to lengthy studies conducted by utilities prior to connection. Now, they got to show that they care about the environment when they really don't, because they probably don't even live in this country or where they build this stuff. They probably don't even live in any of the countries that they build these utility places. These secret contractors, basically, or you would say in the old times, the builders. For their part, those developing these data centers are saying that they will bear the cost of infrastructure upgrades, but in your paper, you argue that this can be difficult to verify. Why is that? We all pay electricity prices that are set through rate cases, which are determined public proceedings where various parties participate and provide evidence to regulators. You know, to keep the peace and the order, so they'll do a little show, debate it, do a little show, a little song and dance, basically, to make the people think that they're in charge of everything when they're not. The Utility Commission issues a decision in writing that can then be reviewed by a court. Many data centers do not pay those prices. They sign contracts with a utility that provides a special deal. And typically, those contracts are confidential to the public. Secrets. Nothing can go right. Keeping the secrets from the public. They're only available to the utility regulators. You see where this is going, people? I hope you're paying attention to this. Whoever's watching this watches the whole thing. They're only available to the utility regulators and anybody that participates in the proceedings to review that contract. If there is one at all, some states don't review those contracts. The reason we should be skeptical that data centers are paying an appropriate rate is because in these proceedings, if there are any, the regulators are only hearing from the utility and the data center. If you're only hearing one side, there's no counter argument, and the proceeding is biased in favor of the utility and the data center. And so these are private deals. It's like when you do like law firms, they'll make deals so that the case will be closed. You know, they'll pay out of court and make a deal, a plea deal. It's sort of like that. They basically are bribing you. I'll give you $1 million, but keep quiet. Tax free. I'll give you $1 billion. See my point here? Money talks. The other reason to be skeptical here is that the regulators exist in a political environment where many state legislatures and state governors support data center investment because they're billion-dollar facilities that can bring a lot of construction jobs and sometimes local tax revenue. It can be a big political risk for a utility regulator to reject a deal like this. In your paper, you outline some ways in which state officials and regulators might think about addressing the problems you raise. What is your key takeaway? Pesco says, what we really need is a new approach for sharing the costs of new infrastructure. The utility business model is all about spreading costs of system expansion to everyone because we all benefit from a reliable, robust electricity system. But when it's a single consumer that is using so much energy, basically that of an entire city, and when that new city happens to be owned by the wealthiest corporations in the world, there we go, people, proving my point of everything I'm saying. I think it's time to look at the fundamental consumption of utility regulation and make sure that these facilities are really paying for all of the infrastructure costs to connect them to the system and to the power of them and to power them. All right, that's it. That's all of it. So my point is, let's go right back to it. Everything that I said is being backed up in this paper. I'm glad he said what he said at the end there. That's where all these secret bases come in. Remember, remember that they do awful experiments from anywhere from poisonous gases to nuclear bombs to do an experiment on human beings to everything else. This stuff is real, people. The people that are behind the utility companies, that behind the oil, behind the White House, behind all of these sectors, Pentagon, the military, they all have their, in other words, they all have their little section. They say that the wannabe owners of the world bring in a couple of kids, they raise them, they let them be in charge of, say, the Pentagon. Let them be in charge of the Navy, for instance. Let them be in charge of the utility companies. Let them be in charge of the natural gas. And you get where I'm going with this? All of the major players in this entire world, they have family running it. They just bring in a couple of people from their children and their relatives, and they let them run it. They give them a corporation name, and nobody's the wiser. They all relate. In other words, they're all related to each other. The biggest secret in the world. I'm talking about it. They take their children. Well, let's look at the Pope. The Pope, for instance. You know what the Pope is from the Vatican? A Pope are offspring, relatives from Caesar. Every Pope in the world is a child, is a bloodline from the Pope. I mean, from Caesar. From all those wicked leaders back in the day. You can't tell me that this isn't true. And what does the Pope have on his ring? That ring that's on his finger. What is that? What is that ring? It's Caesar's ring that's on his hand. It's one of his jewelry things. Remember what he did back in the day? They kissed his ring. There you go. Everything in this world is not what you think it is. Everything in this world that we know, we were born and raised in, we've been lied to. We've been deceived by our own governments, by our own, all of the people out there that are in charge, supposedly in charge of everything. Every war that ever happened in this world, they were responsible for. Now, I can go into this a lot deeper, and I can tell you, it comes down to belief at this point. It comes down whether you believe in God or not, you believe in this higher force, you believe in, God, the devil, and all these other things. Because I got news for you. That's all represents in and surrounding of how the world works. Either you are good or you're bad. Either you're good or you're evil. That's what it is. And the people in this little report, this little paper here on the internet, it's already breaking it down for you. You ever wonder why when you can never get ahead in this world? Why they keep jacking the price up? They say you got a raise. You worked your butt off for this raise. They give you $2 or 10 cents or let's say $1. And so that's $1 on every hour that you work, added to what you normally get after they take everything. Oh, and here's the thing about that: the gross pay and the full pay that you get on your check, and they take part of it for taxes, and take it out for taxes. Where do you think that money's going? Guess where that money's going? It's the same thing with what they're doing with the utility companies for these data centers. They're taking it They're taking that bit of money that you get in your check, and they're they're giving it to these people, this these rich people. What did it say down at the bottom? Real quick, I'm gonna reread that again to everybody. Here we go. When that new city happens to be owned by the wealthiest corporations in the world, I think it's time to look at the fundamental assumptions of utility regulations and make sure that these facilities are really paying for all of the infrastructure costs to connect them to the system. Basically, the wealthiest corporations in the world. I'm glad he Pesco wrote this out, or that they did this report, because this here backs up what I'm saying. This type of stuff backs up that I'm not crazy. I'm being honest with you. I'm a real person. I've been in this world long enough to realize, to look in between the lines and realize what's really going on. Can you see it? And now I got to go back to why people are becoming homeless. It's because of this. In the end, I want to say this real quick. I know this video is long, but it's important. This video is important for those who watch it and actually care. That this tells you everything that you need to know. We're just cattle. We're just workers. We've been lied to our whole lives. It's like that one, how people use that one reference. Was it Jim Carrey or whatever his name is? the Truman Show? How his whole life was a show, and then he finally realizes it. That something's going on. It's the same thing. We've been lied to. The world is not what we think it is. It's not. Let's get born. Be born in the world. Let's raise. Say happy birthday. Blow out some candles. I can talk about the candles on a cake, by the way. That originally was sacrificial. Devil worshiping stuff. The candles on a cake and blowing the candles out. It's worshiping ritual. Is what that is. So there you go. Everything of what we know is not what we know. We've been lied to. Like I was saying, you were born and you're being raised. It's not your parents' fault. They were just innocent, ignorant. They didn't know no better. But knowledge is increasing. Everybody's starting to talk to each other now. Everybody's starting to share things around the world now. So you're born, you're raised, you go to kindergarten, or you learn how to walk, you do this and that, and you go to kindergarten, you go all the way through 12th grade. So if you count kindergarten, that's 13 years. And what does that mean? What does 13 represent? That's how many disciples there was. That's how many disciples there was. There was 13, not 12. There was 13. And so anyway, so you go 13 years if you make it. And then they threw in college. That was made up. They threw that in. They said, hey, you know what? We can make them go another 4 years. We can make even more money. So corporate, as in these rich people, made up the college stuff, and so that you could continue. Guess what? Keep control over you. They'll throw you in school for another 4 years when you could have learned it in 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th, or you could have learned it 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, or you could have learned it since first grade. Second grade. You could have went through all that knowledge Why would you go 13 years in school and yet have to go another 4 years or 6 or 8, depending if you're a doctor, can become a doctor or whatever it is? Why didn't they teach you in school from first grade? Kindergarten, I can see you're just a kid, you don't know any better. But as you start to develop your mind, guess what? You could have went 13 years as a college. Instead of going to college, you could have went 13 years and learned everything you needed to. Why didn't they do that? Because they just teach you, follow the rules, wait your turn in line. Let's brainwash them. Just teach them just enough to go get a job so we can control them for the rest of their lives. Why we live it up and they all become the workers, and we'll give them a little reward. We'll give them a bonus this year. Most jobs don't do that. Give them a bonus. I remember getting a bonus, which was a candy bar. I got a candy bar. I didn't get a bonus. They gave me a candy bar. I could have bought a whole pack of candy bars. Sounds awful. It sounds kind of funny, but that's what they did at one of the jobs I worked at. It was insulting. But all right, thank you so much for watching. I know it's kind of long, but I believe that I needed to make a video. And for anybody who actually watches my stuff, you're going to learn stuff. You're going to learn stuff. And it's going to open your mind so you can go see it for yourself. And know I'm right. And I'm just telling you my take, my opinion, my view of what I've learned over the years. And what people are sharing. People are just not reading it. There it is. You can look it up. It's called Harvard Education. Excuse me. Yep, Harvard Education. You can look it up. Just look up how data centers may lead to higher electricity bills, and it should bring some stuff up for you to check out. I don't usually put links on my channel at all, so thank you so much for watching and bearing with me. If you've made it this far, please consider to subscribe to anybody who's less than 1,000 subscribers on YouTube channels. So if you go to a YouTube channel like this one, like mine or whoever's, and they're less than 1,000 subscribers, please subscribe. Push the all button, and you can decide whether to push the notification bell or not. And some of my videos said you don't have to push the all button, just subscribe. I think you have to push the all button because that is the subscribe button. I didn't. It used to be the other way around. You just push subscribe, but now you have to push the all button, I think, to subscribe, and then you push the bell for notifications whenever I put up a video or whenever somebody else puts up a video on their channel. So, but there you go, everybody. Data centers and all of the companies out there are stealing from us. They're taken from us, and we remain slaves to it all. If you were born and raised in America, I got news for you. You are lied to about the truth behind the United States of America. It's the United States of corporations, businesses, rich people, the builders. I can go into the builders. You can look up that if you want. Just look up builders. Or ancient builders. You'll find out what those things really are. And they're not humans. All right, but they teach humans. Thank you so much. Oh, here, look at this. Tech giants. Giants. Yeah. There you go. Giants. You know what that means. If you believe, read the Bible, you know what that's about. All right. Thank you so much. And again, I want to finish the video by saying Thank you so much for those who stick around, that view my content and enjoy it. My content can make you a little frustrated, can make you laugh, can make you take things seriously, can open your mind. And I'm just expressing my opinion, my take, my view on things. And again, I keep mentioning homelessness because if you followed along, or if you read this, we're all going to be out in the street. We'll probably have to leave the country because all it's going to be left is rich people in the United States. Because ain't nobody going to be able to afford $30 thing of chicken legs, $30 thing of ground beef that's almost spoiled. Have you ever been to the stores? Some of that meat's spoiled. They don't even take it off the shelves. And it's awful. Just like generations and generations and generations of people, they have to go and flee certain areas because it's no longer viable to live there. It's too dangerous. You could have violent people, corruption, evil, whatever. People got their little bags, little sandals, whatever, and what did they do? They fled that section. So immigrants are flocking to the U.S., and then they closed the borders. It was probably a good thing, because the United States is not the land of the free. It's the land of the control, the worker. All right, thank you so much, and that's the end of that. If you made it this far, again, thank you so much, subscribers, and all those who will subscribe. And again, make sure you try to smile, or make the effort to smile, a real smile, and laugh a little bit, and take a moment, a deep breath, and be thankful that you have what you have, because it's all going bye-bye soon for all of us. So enjoy what you have. If you got pets, enjoy hanging out with the pets and playing with them. If you got family, make sure you do your best to get along with them. And if you got friends, make sure you hang out with them every once in a while. Make sure you keep doing that, as long as they're real friends and not fakes. Okay, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, everybody. And I will be doing more content like this. I will still be doing video games as extra content, but I'm going to be moving towards this stuff more because I feel I need to. Thank you so much for watching and bearing with me. Moving on to the next video, everybody. Take care of yourselves and watch out for each other. And don't let anybody tell you what to think, how to think. You can think for yourselves. Take care.